On a ballot count of 6 votes for, 1 vote against, and 1 judge who called an absolute tie in the debate, it is for the affirmative team from Boston. Now, when we did this exact same debate in Washington, D.C., about 2 months ago, the negative won in a landslide. So we might have to do this a third time as a rubber match to figure out which side is really correct. But that's kind of the thing about debate that's amazing about it, is that our students go out and they have to argue both sides of these topics every time they go out and have to learn about all aspects of an issue, and that sometimes they win and sometimes they lose, but they always have a great educational process and have a fun time. So we really hope that you enjoyed this demonstration debate and that you can bring these skills back to your communities and your way of increasing awareness of transportation issues. We're going to now turn to our panel of distinguished judges quickly to get them to give us a little feedback on what was the most compelling arguments and what really stuck with them from the debate to kind of help inform their decisions. And then after that, to our student judges, we're going to do a little Q&A. If you have any questions of the debaters about the debate process, about how they prepared for the debate, or about any arguments that you thought of in the debate, start thinking of your questions now, and Mr. Reynard will come around with a microphone so that we can have those questions afterward, and we can have a conversation with our students about their experience debating transportation for the past year. But I'll now ask Ms. Washington what her thoughts on the debate.
Well, I tell you, I was very, very impressed with all of you. Congratulations. It takes courage to do this, but you're also very, very gifted, and it was inspiring for me. First of all, I was impressed with the amount of research you've done. Absolutely incredible, and that takes a lot of time. And once you do that kind of research, you have to sort of internalize it as well. And for you guys, I thought that you really did internalize it, because you, even Elvis, gave a personal example about Boston. And so I think that in a debate situation, if he can feel it, then that makes a difference. Also, but the delivery was great. You were very knowledgeable, excellent research. The important thing was that also you all closed beautifully. And, you know, there's this old adage that when you listen to the last person in the room, and so your last comments really are the most important, I think, because that's what people sort of, and you closed with passion. So I'm going to congratulate you all. You did an incredible job. Tyree, your delivery was incredible. The fact that you knew your information, you were able to deliver it also in a way that you didn't have to look at your notes very much at all. And of course, Luke said this was your second debate, so you've internalized it also. And so you all presented your facts in a very, very compelling way. And so I congratulate you all.
Ms. Mariah Stanley from APTA.
Hi, everybody. I think you did a great job. That's first and foremost. I think you all did a great job. I think you all compelled me when you said you want 30 people in 30 cars or 30 people in one train or bus, and that is very, very true. I don't think people think about that when they think of convenience, and that transportation can be convenient when you do use trains and buses. It's just if we do put money into those projects, then they could be more convenient than you all having different cars, because people put a lot of money into their individual vehicles and not necessarily into public transit infrastructure. So I thought that was good, and I think you all were good. I think, Tyree, you are very natural. I think you are very comfortable with speaking. I think you guys are younger, and you will get that in time, but I think you guys did a great job for being as young as you are. And I think once you debate more, you will be more comfortable speaking and comfortable about your topic. I think you guys talked a little fast. I'm a fast talker, so I get that, but I guess I would say slow down just a bit. And I think you definitely have a voice for debate. You definitely persuade people without even knowing what you're talking about at all. You just have a very persuasive voice. And I think that you can make people believe what you're talking about, even if that's not what they think. Because you kind of changed my mind a bit, and I was like, hold on, that's not what I was thinking. So I think you all did a great job. I think you should all give yourself a round of applause, and I would love to see you all again. That's great.
Good morning. You all were fabulous. Very good job. We have to say that first and foremost. And I was impressed with just the amount, as it was mentioned before, of research and facts that you all knew. Bam, bam, bam. You were spitting them out, knowing your facts, knowing your topics. Elvis, I thought it was really, really good when you brought out the point of why transportation is needed, especially because of poverty, violence. You brought in those topics that kind of hit home. I was like, wow, very impressive when I heard that. And I thought that both of you, Fatah and Tyree, did great on your cross-examinations. Because, you know, the former journalist in me came out. I was like, bam, bam, they were asking those questions left and right, and I really enjoyed that. And I thought that Tazikia, is that correct? Did I say it correctly? Say it for me, please. Taskia. Excuse me, Taskia. You were convincing to me. I didn't necessarily, and it doesn't matter what side you agreed on. What convinced me was your tone, because you were very authoritative. You knew exactly what you wanted to say, and that's what convinced me, especially the line that you used towards the end when you said, today is not the day to make that happen. Today is not the day. You were very, very convincing on that part. But you all did a wonderful job, as you mentioned too, Elvis. Just slow down a little bit, but you did a great job, and you all had a great knowledge of your topic, knowing the research. And that definitely takes time to know that and to be able to incorporate that into your lives and able to incorporate your cities into this and knowing the facts, incorporating other things. So you all did a wonderful job, and keep up the good work. We're so proud of you.
Good morning. It was a real pleasure watching you. I will tell you, it's tough to set aside your an entire professional career devoted to transit. But I will say, your argument, one more time on your first name, I'm sorry. Taskia. Your argument regarding federalism I thought was really interesting. Seeing as how I really didn't buy in the gentrification issue, but the federalism argument was interesting. And when you've got a tough argument to make, making it bigger than the specific issue is always a great tactic. All of you modulated your voices very well. Obviously, you are an excellent speaker, and that will serve you well no matter what you do. It was a real pleasure watching you. All of you ended so strong. That was really a pleasure to watch you. Thank you so much.
Well, I tell you, I want to know where you were when I was building the Silver Line, because I could have used the help. But I will tell you that I was just blown away with impression about the fact that the next generation of transit leaders is safe and secure with the information that you guys have put forward. I think that, you know, to echo what they said about Tyree, he's got a great voice. He had great prominence when he gave you the cross-examination. I thought that was phenomenal. Taskia, you're going to be a great doctor. Because you could convince me to take an operation. But I will tell you that, you know, I applaud the fact that you only had 35 minutes to do this, and to be able to get as much information out there as you possibly could so that you could speak as fast as you possibly could. This was phenomenal. I'm sure that everybody in this audience gained a lot from this because it's difficult to argue. Like my colleague said, this is my career is in public transportation and making sure that we develop it, not take it away. But you did convince me that I had another way of looking at it, and the federalism argument was one that was compelling. So thank you.
Well done, everyone. Due to a scheduling mix-up, I wasn't here to hear the whole thing, but what I heard blew me away. You know, I just want to take the time to commend you on your professionalism and ask a question. Was, for each team, was either team either persuaded by the other one's argument? No. So your position is still the same. Now, in the position that you were in, did you believe it going into it? Meaning you did not, okay? Okay, and the point that I'm making there is that you were all believable in your stance, meaning that even if you didn't agree with the position that was given to you, you presented it that way, and that's what professionalism is about. So continue that trend. Again, I think you was well spoken. I will echo some of the things that I've heard today, such as slowing it down just a little bit, you know. But outside of that, you know, continue to support everything you say with facts. You know, you can follow it up with your opinion after that, which you did. You know the difference between opinions and assumptions, and you'll continue to do well. But thank you.
Well, besides echoing what everyone had to say, I just want to say today, really, there's no winners or losers. And in my opinion, I saw winners on both sides. So I think it's fascinating that you can take a topic that you don't necessarily know a lot about and then argue the evidence for or against. So that's fascinating to me. And then be able to represent that in the way that you do. You know, communication really, the words that we speak is only 6 to 7% of how we communicate. And the rest of it is your poise, your passion, how you speak, your conviction, your eye contact. And all of you were incredible at doing that. So I just wanted to say that besides the words that you spoke, you communicated your passion in the topic incredibly well. The other thing I wanted to say is that you've both done incredible and outstanding research in both areas, and I'm not sure if doing research in the negative or the positive continues to keep you in your decision about what you spoke about, but I'm just fascinated that you were both able to do that with such fervor. I think that it is interesting that Elvis spoke about putting congested communities and taking cars off the roads and actually putting people into public transportation. I live in a congested urban community, and I try to keep my personal opinion out of it. But I was swayed by, you know, education, and also the lack of funds sometimes stops people from using certain things. But in New York City, large urban communities, the rich, the poor, everyone uses public transportation because of the way the city is set up, and it's just the easiest, most economical way to get around. But I do have to say that I am extremely proud, encouraged, and really happy that that Julie asked us to have you here. So thank you all for coming and for arguing as passionately as you did about the topic.
Well, good morning. It was very relevant to me listening to your debate, because we're going through the very debate in Atlanta as we speak about how much investment do we make in mass transit. And I hope that each of you, as you move on with your careers, that even if, Tazkia, if you become a doctor, and Tyree, wherever your career pursuits take you, and Elvis and Fatah, wherever your careers take you all as well, that you keep mass transit in mind, that you become advocates of one thing, one position or another, because none of you said you didn't like mass transit. You all just wondered about the way we invested and so forth. The things that really stood out for me was listening to the arguments about, does the relative gap difference change? Because if you continue to invest in highways while investing in mass transit at the same levels, will you really truly make an investment change, or will you really make a dent in that gap? And the other thing that really stood out was Elvis's argument when talking about how America's image could be harmed by the change in the Federalist model and what have you. And when he used the drone attacks and the NSA scandal and so forth to equate those two things together, I thought he did a fantastic job sounding like a crafty politician and laying out, hey, look, how dare you make that argument? You know, I thought that was very well done. All of you, I think you had great pace. I think you had great information. And I just hope you stay involved in mass transit, because our future needs you.
Are there any questions from our student judges? Do you have any questions about the arguments made in the debate or about our students' experience with debate? They would be happy to help out. We're just going to bring the microphone around. We got a question here. Just got a microphone over here. And then I'll pass the microphone around up here to the students up here so they can answer. If I can figure out how to get this
I'm Christopher James from the STI Institute in Greensboro, and I was just wondering how when you were generating your debates, how your personal feelings impacted what you wanted to say and maybe how you wanted to put things together.
Sure.
One thing in debate is like it doesn't really matter what your personal experiences are, because like in this debate we were given negative and they were given affirmative. So whether we liked mass transit or not, it didn't matter. We have to act like we didn't. We had to act like we. I mean, you know, not that we didn't like it, but the fact that it wasn't profitable. So it didn't really. I guess you could say as debaters we have to be good actors and actresses. We have to like convince you that we actually believe in what we actually stand. So yeah.
Yeah, just echo what she said. Also, I've come like through researching. I've come to realize that a lot of times we've had experiences on both sides. You know, I've had a good experience in the transit system. I've had a good experience in a car. So when you do research and when you're presenting an argument for either side, you have to draw from that experience that is relevant to your argument. So it's about like you're gonna have experiences and you're gonna have opinions for both sides. So just you have to, I guess, amplify the ones that support your argument.
Affirmative, you guys got some comments?
So, Tyree just kind of hit it. Like, you have different types of experiences, and there's sometimes where, like, your personal experiences help you make your own arguments, like your own arguments on your own. Like the one I brought about Boston, I actually do use mass transit, and it helps me become more persuasive. I feel as if like it's my own argument and it's actually real for me. So I'm not just using someone else. I actually argue it better with my own emotion behind it. So it depends on how you really extract your feelings or experiences and apply it into the debate round. Not to say that you should always do that, because sometimes it can end foully, but there's times where you can use your emotions and experiences to help motivate you or help you persuade better.
Thanks for the question. Do we have anyone else? Oh, we got it over here.
I'm from A&T. My name is Ariel Remus from the STI program at Greensboro. And is the hardest part of debating having to come back, you know, for your reflections and make sure you know the other side's, you know, kind of topic?
So what's the hardest part of debating?
Yes.
Okay.
I think the hardest part of debating for me is just being inside the round, because in regular debate, you don't know what the team is going to argue, so you have to take notes on what they say. You have to argue against it. You have to make analytics. Think about things thoroughly. You have to get outside of the debate, see what's happening, and then come back inside so you know exactly what to say and how to answer what they say. So I think that's the hardest part of the debate, being inside the round and doing having to argue back without knowing what they're going to say beforehand.
Just like he said, like for this public debate, like we kind of knew what the other side was gonna say, so that came with the preparation, and we definitely like had to tone ourselves down and not talk so fast, things like that. But in actual policy debate, you have no idea what the opponent is gonna say, so you have like 8 minutes of prep time throughout the whole entire round, and a regular debate round is like 1 hour and 30 minutes. So that 8 minute you have to use to like 2 minutes after the speech, 2 minutes after that speech, things like that. And you have to use that 2 minutes to write down, to think of everything that they say, think of arguments against it, find evidence within your own evidence box to support it, because claims isn't enough. You have to have evidence to back it up, and you have to convince the judge at the same time. So yeah, it's definitely very difficult in actual policy debate.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's that's the thing. It's a lot of hard parts about debate. Those are like the big main ones, and there's also the part about when the other team presents an argument that you've never heard before. Like, cause like when you have a topic like transportation infrastructure, you have a general idea. Like, oh, they're gonna talk about trains or highways or blah blah blah. But then you might hear some affirmative or some plan that you thought like had nothing to do with what you were thinking of. So then you have to like look at your notes while you're giving your speech, and then try to suppress your nerves, and like as you're looking at your notes, try to think on the spot of a clever argument and look confident at the same time. So it's yeah, it's kind of hard to look confident when you don't know what you're saying. So, for me, yeah, that's kind of the hard part.
Thanks. Do we have any more questions?
Yes, I wanted to say, first of all, that the audience was just so attentive. You could hear a pin drop in here. That was incredible. I mean, I tried to look out of the corner of my eye, but it was just so great. So I think there's some folks in here who might be interested in debating. How do you prepare, and what advice would you give them?
So when starting debate, when you first start, I'd suggest just take it for what it is. You get evidence, and you go into debate round, and you debate, and it's an experience that you enjoy. You do it, and as you get higher levels, then of course the competition increases, and that's when you become better. But as you first join debate, take it for what it is. Really enjoy the learning experience of how to be a good debater, because once that has already happened, everything else falls into place, and becoming a better debater becomes easier. Like once you know the fundamentals, researching becomes easier, speaking becomes easier, persuasion becomes easier. So just enjoy the learning experience, and as you get higher, things will get more tough, and as things get tougher, you find it easier to apply the things you learn into your daily life. So any little speaking tips, any little thing you do in a debate round can be applicable to daily situations as you get higher in debate.
See, it's still like that question is still fresh for me because I've only been debating for about 6 months now. So when you first come into debate, something they don't tell you is that for the most part, debate is a game with like no rules. I am so serious. Like the only rules really in an actual debate are the time constraints. After that, really the debaters make the rules. So if you do something that the other team thinks is against the rules, it's not enforced unless they make that argument. So it's the thing. It's like any other sport and activity. It's like basketball. You have to learn the fundamentals first, and then that's when you come and after you get comfortable with it, you can be creative, create your own rules, do things that's new, make new arguments, and really put on a good show after you understand what you're doing. So.
When I first got into debate, I was a sophomore, and I didn't really like debate. I just did it because my dad told me to do it. And now, and the thing is, my coach, she's so crazy. She put me in varsity automatically. She didn't even let me go through the novice rounds. So I had to, immediately just get into that position where I knew what I was doing. And a lot of it, I had no idea what to do. I didn't know what to expect. And the one thing that I had to really, understand was speed reading. In debate, we have this tactic. It's called spreading. And basically what it is speed reading. So the amount of time that you have in debate, you're allowed to read the important thing is to get as much arguments and information as possible. And the other team, their burden is to answer every single one of those arguments that you make. So the faster you talk, the more arguments you can make. And also another thing, the faster you talk, the crazier you sound. So the other team, might miss an argument, or it's like, oh, that's not important, who cares? Or might not even have heard or noticed the argument, and you automatically lose. So that's the one thing that I had to learn, was actually understanding what they're saying, because that speed reading is the one thing that got to me.
Any more questions?
Luke, I just wanted to make an observation. Elvis is going home after the tours today, but he'll be back to do the student oratorical on Tuesday at the scholarship luncheon. So I don't know what he has planned, but I imagine we're going to be pleased. Who had a question?
Good morning. My name is Lou Miller. I'm a board member from VIA Metropolitan Transit Authority in San Antonio. I agree with the affirmative's argument about the future of mass transit. I'm hoping that the negative can answer this particular question for me, because you made a very valid point. How do we bring our streetcar, which is supposed to be coupled with transit-oriented development, into the impoverished areas, improve the economic conditions of those areas without displacing the poor and the impoverished?
Well, no, I'll give him this one for free. Okay, coming from Detroit, it's an area that's really heavily dealing with gentrification right now, especially like midtown, downtown area, where they're building an M1 light rail through like the main street in Detroit, and like the argument I was making, property costs are going up. There are people that are have their houses are being foreclosed on. They can't afford different like they can afford like the things that they could have afforded a couple months ago, because like the argument that they made, when you invest in mass transit, businesses get attracted. When a business sees that there's a great transportation system and that people have access to get to their business, oh, I want to put my new Starbucks here, So it's one of those things where it's a difficult balance that I don't think that we've found yet. I don't think we've found the solution to that yet. That's and not having the solution is why we're able to have an argument against what they're saying, because it's still up for debate, and like a critical part of debate is they call it impact calculus, where that there's an impact to both sides, but you have to have the ability to make your impact sound the greatest. So there's going to be gentrification. There are going to be people that don't want to ride, but there are also going to be people in poverty that benefit from mass transit. So it's a cost analysis, basically. You have to figure out what's the biggest benefit to the biggest risk.
You guys got a solution?
I don't think it's really a solution, but it should be like the way you develop and model it. I think Boston has come up with a smart way to do so. Like, we have the MBTA in Boston, and we also have subsidized housing, as my partner said in his speech. We have projects and a lot of areas near the transportation system. So we have many different lines: orange line, blue line, and around each line there are subsidized housing projects. There's so in Boston we found a solution to deal with like gentrification. I think it's just aid from the government, aid from the housing, so the people that are living there can get help too from the government. So it's not hard to live in neighborhoods that are being gentrified, in neighborhoods that are developing transportation systems.
Good morning. Right here. Good morning. I'm Kenneth Jones from the home of the basketball world champions. I just happen to work for Miami-Dade Transit, okay? All right. Hey, don't be hating. Okay, we just got started, okay? We just got started. That's all right. We appreciate Alan. We appreciate him. He saved the day for us. We'll give him that. But this is kind of on a personal note. Having been a shy fella coming up, Tazkia, you already told us your daddy made you do it, okay? And that's good. I can relate. I got 6 daughters of my own. But debating was always scary for me. That's why I never did it. It's really always was a fear factor I never overcame. I was just interested for the rest of you saying you're only doing it for 6 months, and these young guys here that I met in the elevator coming over here, I'm really proud of you guys, all of you. But how did you get into it, and was that a factor for you? Were you guys, any of you ever shy? Did you have to, and did it help you overcome that shyness?
Okay, so my brother debated before me, and that was really inspirational. He came home with trophies all the time. I was like, hey, I want trophies too. My mom was always proud of him. I was like, yeah, I can do that too. And then my freshman history teacher is my debate coach right there, Ravi Singh. He opened up the class at the beginning of the year. If you do debate, you get extra credit. And that sounded pretty intriguing, and I heard there was food at the debate practice. So at first it was this fluffy concept of debating, it's cool, and then when we started actually practicing and looking, of course I got intimidated. I got scared of a packet and kids that have been debating before me and all these papers and facts and people. I don't know how to pronounce these words, and I don't know how to read, and I don't know how to speak and all these things. But once I started, I realized how powerful my voice was, and that's what kept me with it. I realized I can speak and I can persuade people, and I realized how beneficial this can be. And now when I look at debate, I think about, I can put this on my college resume. I think about so many different aspects of what debate can bring versus actually getting over the fear of doing it. The fear of doing it is temporary. Once you get good at it, it becomes second nature, and you realize the benefits it brings.
The same story goes for me. My brother debated before me, and in my school, debate is like a big thing. It's like almost as good as the basketball team. We're looked at greatly. And I think in my school is a legacy. If you have an older brother or older sibling debating, you follow right after them. We have many siblings in our debate team, so that's why I joined debate. And in addition, like you can see, debate brings a lot of opportunities. It gave us this opportunity to come here and debate in this public debate. So debate really helps you for the future, as my partner stated. Helps with a college resume, helps with opportunities like this, and going to Washington and traveling. So debate is really cool, and it helps out for the future too.
Well, the way I started debate, well, I experimented with like different sports, football, basketball. You know, I tried cross country for a day. I hated it. And I was just back and forth with a bunch of different activities until one day, like my mom was basically like, "You're gonna stick with something." So, and I've always been argumentative at nature. And this, like, literally, this is the story. One time I was in the car with my mom, and we're just, like, I kept refuting everything that she said. And she's like, "I know there's a thing for what you're doing right now." she's like, "What is it?" She's like, "I know your school has a debate team, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, practice is on Wednesday." She's like, "I'm not picking you up from school on Wednesday until you go to debate practice." And she was like, "When does it end?" I'm like, 5. She was like, "I'm not picking you up until 5. So I went to debate practice. And it basically stuck with me. So it was one of those things where like you get involved in it, and it is intimidating at first. A lot of people that consider debating that don't, usually their biggest argument is that it seems hard. You know, I was scared. It's really intimidating, and it is. Like especially when I went into my first tournament, and like you see the teams that have their laptops and they have like 90 stickers of all the debate institutes from Emory, Harvard, Stanford. You've been to Boston, you've been to Baltimore, you went to Alaska, like like you went to all of these different debate institutes, and it's like I just came from school. Like, so it's like when you see that it is intimidating, but when you finally get your when you finally get your legs planted, you find out that it's not as bad as it looks at first. So.
Another thing to add, like debate makes like you and your school a family. In my school, we have seniors, juniors, sophomores, freshmen. We all are on the same level when we're debating. We look at seniors as our like best friends. Usually, if we hadn't joined the debate team, we wouldn't be interacting with the seniors or any other people like that. So it makes you connected. And like debate also gives you friends, like friends from Detroit and friends from other tournaments that you make friends with a lot of people. So debate is really cool. And even though it's intimidating, it starts off normal because when you start off, everyone's fresh at debate. Everyone's a novice. Everyone doesn't know no one knows what they're doing. So it's not that scary at first. And once you start learning, everyone gets better at the same time. So everyone's just getting better at the same time. So it's not really that difficult. So it isn't as intimidating as it seems. It starts off easy, and you'll get better as it goes along.
Thank you. We got a question right here in the front.
I'm Jalen Warren. I'm here for representing North Carolina A&T's Transportation Institute. And I was just wondering, what's the hardest part about losing a round, and how does it affect you psychologically during the debate?
We lost, so we should. So, no, honestly, like, okay, so yeah, it does suck, but I'm not gonna lie. But the thing is, at the same time, like, at the same time, you do realize, like, you figure out what you did wrong, and you figure out what arguments you did wrong, and it helps you, like, to know, okay, next time I know exactly what to do. I mean, I'm retiring after this. I'm not debating, but like, even for future reference, like, I know for him, like, he knows what he did wrong. He knows what we have to do and what we have to prepare for next time. So yeah, it does suck, but at the same time, you do realize like, it helps you at the same time.
Yeah, to echo what she said, the debate is a really intense learning experience. Like, and if you've been on any team for anything, it's universal, whether it's debate or chess, like, or basketball or whatever. The coach always tells you have to have a short memory. Like it's right after your loss, you go into the next round. Like, especially at debate tournaments where like the preliminary rounds, it's back to back to back. Round one's over, you have 2 minutes to get to round 2. So you can't even think about that last round you just lost. The only thing you think about is the judges' comments and what you need to do better to win next time. But and psychologically, Sometimes you don't care. Like I'm so serious. Like because after you get into your mindset of okay, like as soon as you lose, we're gonna win the next one. You know, if you lose that one, we're gonna win the next one. So you don't care. Like and then when you get that, like you can't appreciate a win unless you lose. So you take all of those losses for learning experiences because you don't understand how good it feels to win until you lose. So yeah.
I think the hardest part about losing is when you lose a big debate, an important debate. Afterwards, you think back on it. You wish that you could go back into the debate and change the things that you said. So like thinking back on it is the worst part. Like thinking what you could have changed, what could have made the difference. And we lost last time, and it's pretty. I'm happy we had a second chance to do so, and this was like our second chance to make it better. And I think that's the hardest part of debate, going back, thinking about why you lost and how you can fix it next time.
So you're gonna lose no matter how hard you research or how hard you debate in each round. It's gonna happen. You're gonna lose eventually, but after you lose a couple times, like I've adopted the mindset, every opportunity to fail is also a chance to shine. So like when you go in debate round, of course you have there's a good chance you're gonna lose, but there's also a good chance you're gonna succeed as well. So that's how you have to look at each round, whether you win or lose.
Any more questions?
My question would be, what is the hardest topic that you all have ever had to debate upon, and how did you overcome the pressures of that difficult topic?
So when I was a sophomore, every year is a new resolution. So this year we did transportation infrastructure. The year before that we did should the United States federal government increase investment in space exploration. And the year before that, when I was a sophomore, the topic was should the United States federal government increase military presence in the following countries. And it was Afghanistan, there was Japan, there was South Korea, things like that. So, and you choose which cases you want to run, and then you go with it. So that was actually my favorite topic, but it was actually the hardest topic because I had no idea what politics was or like what even goes into like doing something like that. So for me, that was definitely the hardest topic because you really do have to understand not only how does it affect the U.S., but how does it affect other countries as well.
Yeah, I guess to go back to what I said earlier, I've only been debating for 6 months, so this is my first topic. But the topic for next year is should the United States federal government increase its economic engagement in Mexico, Venezuela, or Cuba? So like a topic like that is hard. One, because I've done some research and it's kind of hard to find literature on Venezuela. With Cuba, it's the big overarching topic is the embargo. And then with Mexico, it's you never know what the other team's going to present. But in terms of like just this past year, like under the resolution, like the hardest topic, like debate I was in, was one where it was actually in my first tournament. It was the last round of the first tournament. Taz remembers, that's why she's laughing. It was we presented an argument that the United States federal government should invest in hydrogen cars, like hydrogen fueling stations. And like one of our advantages was that we could The big part about debate is that all of the impacts are like usually magnified. It usually ends in nuclear war or extinction. Like even though it usually has nothing to do with it, like somehow there's always an internal link chain from building a gas station to global extinction. So one of our advantages is like, we prevent extinction through solving global warming, through solving CO2, through, Then the other team was like, well, death is good.
They seriously did say that. Their argument was death is good. And we were like, what? And so we lost that round. And you think you wouldn't lose that round, but these arguments, like the thing is in a debate, it doesn't matter how crazy the argument was. It doesn't matter about the argument. What it matters is how well you answer the argument. and we didn't answer it very well. We were so bad at it. Oh my God. We were like, what do you mean death is good? Duh, it's good. It's why? No, we don't want to die. But they won because they said death is good. It's good because they gave their impacts. You know, if we live, what's the bad things that would happen? If we died, what's the good things that would happen? Things like that. And they won. So yeah, like in debate, you go through the craziest arguments, and you really do. It doesn't matter how crazy the argument is. You really do have to understand how to answer the argument.
Yeah, just really quick. I've been talking for a while. Yeah, because it's like, I know you like when you hear that, you're like, how did they argue that death is good? How did they convince the judge that death is good? Was when you get up in the cross-examination, the first question that he asked me, first question, I remember it. He's like, have you ever died? And of course, I'm like, I don't think so. He's like, well, death can feel like a massage, right? He's like, you don't know that death, like, does death hurt? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, and then he gets in his speech, he was like, well, like in cross-sex, death could feel like a massage. We don't know that death is bad. And then, you know, they make arguments that it's bigger than the human. Because, like, their argument is that death is good because if we die, we stop hurting the environment. And the earth, it helps the earth. And the earth is more important than the human race because there are other species here. So, and then the judge thought it was compelling. So, yeah.
All right, anything not death good that was a hard argument for you guys to answer?
So this argument, this topic, it's in this year's topic about transportation infrastructure. The case was about making crystals underneath the road to generate kinetic energy. And that case is so hard to answer or to talk about because I don't know exactly. It's called piezoelectric, and it's all over the place. Like there's no specific evidence to answer that. So like it's really crazy. It's really out of the box case. So I don't know how you would answer that. Talking about crystals and kinetic energies, it's all over the place. I don't know. That was very hard.
Any more specific questions about piezoelectricity? Oh, we got another question here.
I got one more question. Do senators and other representatives attend the debates, and do bills get passed because of your debates?
No. Like, the thing is, we have this, there's things called disadvantages. So every plan has an advantage, right? The affirmative plan. And the negative, they say all the disadvantages. So we have this one argument, it's called a politics disadvantage. So basically what we're saying is that if we do the affirmative plan, then a certain bill won't be passed. And that bill is more important than the affirmative plan. So therefore, we should not do the affirmative plan so that this bill can be passed. And so, no, they never get passed. No one really cares about what we do. And I guess sometimes senators can come if you invite them or whatever, if you get lucky. But yeah, like everything that happens within the debate is within that room. So all the things that we've debated right now, it's within this room. This is the debate world, right? You have to get into this debate mindset. And when you debate up there, you have to, obviously in real life, a nuclear war would never happen. But when you get up there, you have to say a nuclear war will happen if you don't do mass transit. Like, it's just something that'll just happen, right? So, yeah.
Sometimes, local officials come and, help out and judge public debates. But for the most part, our debates are done by wonderful volunteers that come in and judge from their communities and our cities. And it's a debate between usually just the 4 debaters and the judge. And then, kind of 57 of those will happen at a time within a high school. And that'll happen 6 times in a weekend. And that'll happen 6 times a year over and over again so that our students are able to work on the skill sets that they get in debate, work on arguing both sides of an issue and really challenging themselves to really understand an issue instead of a one-off debate like we have in this situation. So it's a little bit different. We like to think of it as a preparation for going out and doing advocacy work with your senators and your representatives or your local officials. It's preparing you to, kind of have a practice whenever you go and make a presentation, someone says, well, what about this? And you're like, well, I've already debated that and I have an answer. It's up here, you're good to go. And so that's one of the things that we hope comes out of our students' participation in debate. Well, thank you all for your wonderful questions and for taking the time to work with us today. I think Reynard's going to get ready to go here, but I'm going to ask our judges and our debaters to step outside real quick for some photo opportunities, and then back to Mr. Reynard.
Let's give them a hand, please. Weren't they outstanding?